How to paint a foggy night. I start by tinting the light and dark half of a grayscale with two different unique hues. The darker side is tinted blue and the lighter side is tinted red to add that dynamic lighting. With the watered down blue paint, I go in and stain the entire surface of my artifacts panel before going back in with the same color and sketching in my underpainting. I then start at my horizon line with my lightest gray, painting in some very distant trees that are only slightly darker than the sky. I add little bits of white to the gray to create a gradient, lightest at the top. I create an opposite gradient on the road, going from my medium to dark gray in the foreground, and use more of that medium gray to fill in the grass on each side of the road. I sketch in the general shapes of my trees with my darkest gray, keeping it pretty loose. I'm going to come back to them later to add more detail. Mixing that same gray into some of my medium gray, I add some of the shadows on the grass. I then sculpt out the details of my trees by poking through patches of sky color peeking through the leaves. Moving on deeper into details, I add some telephone poles and wires crossing the composition. My favorite brush for this is a long liner brush. It'll hold on to a lot of paint and give you really nice long thin lines. Now we are finally at the fun part, adding in our street lights. For these, I'm using my two lightest reddish grays, using a technique called dry brushing with just a little bit of paint on my brush rubbing up on the surface. This helps me create that ambient foggy light feeling, making sure the light bulbs themselves are the brightest point of light. And just to be a little extra, I added in a spooky car driving away in the distance, using that same dry brushing effect to get that ambient headlight glow. And after adding some other final details, we have ourselves a foggy night. Thank you so much for watching.